Okay, everyone, welcome to another edition of Unstoppable REI. And I'm here with my friend Jennifer Barner. And we were just talking about podcasting and life and grown children. And there was too much valuable information. So I said, hey, I'm going to hit record. We're going to keep it going. So, all right, I've got a son who's a YouTuber too. So tell me about your son that's a YouTuber. This is completely off script. I'm all over the chart here. But anyway, yeah, tell me about that.
Oh yeah. So my son, he started doing day trading when he was 16. And then
Wow.
and then he got into um really trying to learn how can he monetize what he's doing and the valuable lessons. And then
Yeah,
he started doing a podcast, not a podcast, just recording himself on YouTube.
nice.
And then he since found out that hey, you can make money by selling things on eBay.
Yeah,
And then he's just kind of went the whole circuit. And
nice.
now when he does YouTube videos,
Yeah,
though, he prints out an entire script and he memorizes line by line. And
wow.
he acts it out and then he puts animation to it. It takes him 12 hours to produce this. It is freaking phenomenal. He's really, really good, but he does not have time for me. I'm telling you what, I'm like, Nick, help a woman out here. Help your mama out, right?
That is so funny. Yeah, my kids, like I mentioned to you, they're all super technology minded people, and so my son's on a YouTube channel with some other guys, and they've got like I don't know a bazillion followers, and people recognize them when we're in the mall and stuff. And his name is Kyle. And then I probably should I might have to pay him a royalty for saying his name. We'll have to see.
Right.
But right. But yeah, but you're asking about just tools for podcasting. So yeah, I think just grab a good mic and some lights and kind of go, and then I don't know. And I think the biggest key, even more important than the lights and the mic, is hanging out with cool people. And that's why I invited you, because people like you make me look good. They think, boy, that's a cool guy. He's got all these great investors. And here's the other thing. I wanted to now you know Mandy, right?
Of course,
Okay,
yes.
everybody knows
Mandy
Mandy.
connected us, and who
Yeah.
who doesn't love Mandy, right?
Right, exactly. So, and I told Mandy, I need to talk to more women real estate investors because you guys are out there. I want to talk to you and stuff. And so, hang around cool real estate investing women and interview them. And actually, I call it. I don't know if I coined this phrase, but I call it the Steve Harvey effect. So
I
it's
love
kind of
Steve
you like
Harvey.
that? Yes, I do too. So
Yes,
this guy got super famous and rich by just interviewing people and
yes,
introducing people. And so I
yeah.
feel like if I can hang out with successful people, that rubs off, that makes me look successful. Not to mention I'm married up. So I mean, so that doesn't hurt. So anyway, so just surround yourself with cool people. That's what I think the key. That's what I think the key is. So
I love it. I love your energy, and I especially love your glasses.
do you? Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Boom. There it is. See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Cool
but
people.
but I need cooler glasses. I mean, I like yours.
Jennifer, you are cool. You're cool. You got the cool background. I mean, and I'm gonna give me your son's number. I'm gonna call him myself, and we're gonna get him. We're gonna get some help for you to set this up. I mean, we gotta. This is not the end. This is not just a one shop. I mean, we're
Oh
gonna do
yeah,
multiple. All right, multiple episodes here. All right.
oh yeah. I'm with you.
All right.
I'll,
Cool.
yeah.
So all right. I can see that this is gonna be way too much fun. So I'm gonna just try to reel it back in just a little bit and ask some serious minded questions. All right. So tell me,
Okay.
start with your 30-second elevator pitch. Tell me how it
Oof.
started. Give me your story. Give me something. Oh, I'm losing you. Give me something.
Well, you know what? I was
Yeah.
thinking about that, and
Okay.
everybody. So my 30-second elevator pitch
Yeah.
is I'm
Yeah.
a real estate investor and syndicator, which
Nice.
really means I find inefficient performing multifamily apartment buildings
Okay.
and I get them under contract. And then I bring my friends and family and whoever else wants to participate, and we invest in this. And then I get it running efficiently and help us all build wealth together.
Okay. Now here's something. This is really funny to me. The really smart people, especially the smart investors, try to make it sound really simple. So you made that sound really simple, and yeah, and I guess that's good. Yes, but that's huge. That's huge. You apartment build. I mean, what size apartment buildings are you talking about?
The bigger, the better.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
so my mentor, I've had a lot of mentors, and I feel like when you have a mentor, you can avoid a lot of mistakes, not all of
Sure.
them,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can avoid a lot of mistakes that other people have already made.
Yeah.
And I'm too late in life to continue to make mistakes other people have made. So
Sure.
I wanted the fast track. It's
Okay.
kind of like going to Disney. Give me
Yeah.
the fast pass, I'll pay extra for it.
Right.
So I paid for mentors
Okay.
along the way that helped me accelerate. And they said, Jen, bigger is better. And
Wow.
so I just learned that, okay, bigger is better. So 70 doors and greater
Nice. Nice.
is, yeah.
Okay. So have you always had mentors and coaches and stuff like that, or just in real estate?
Well, I was a stay-at-home mom for
Okay.
16
I
years.
love it.
I raised our 4 children. And then when they were getting close to going off to college, I realized, okay, that 529 money is not going to get 4 kids through college. I'm going to have to step up and either go back into school,
Okay.
or excuse me, not go back to school, go back into the workplace.
Okay.
But I thought, man, I don't want to lose out on the my younger kids going
Mm.
through high school and their, sporting activities and stuff. So thankfully, I found real estate,
Okay.
and it allowed me to really um, do some things in life that I never thought I'd be capable of doing.
Okay.
But I really quickly realized, okay, I'm on the latter half of my life.
Okay.
So I really needed to pay the piper so
Yeah.
that I could get that fast track. So I didn't have mentors earlier in life, but I'll
Okay.
tell you what, if anybody is in the place like my age,
Yeah.
and you're really wanting to fast track your potential,
Yeah.
whatever it is. I think if it's whether it's exercise or cooking or whatever, if you want to be really good at it, get a coach,
Yeah. I
because
agree.
yeah, it just makes all the difference in the world.
It does. Well, you said it yourself. You save on a lot of. I mean, you learn from their failures. I mean, because I believe, and I tell my kids this all the time. We want to talk more. I want to talk more about kids in a second here, but I tell my kids you can learn either by taking advice or by through experience, and both of them will teach you. But one is more expensive and painful than the other. You know what I mean? And so they're like, "Yeah, Dad, we know, we know." So how old are your kids?
So mine are now 21, 22, 26, and 28.
They're pretty close to ours. So my youngest is 20. So first of all, are there all how many boys, how many girls?
2 girls and then 2 boys.
That's crazy. We're like
Yeah,
kindred spirits here. So all right. So I've got two, one of each, two. I mean, two of each. So my youngest is 20-year-old girl. Then my son is 24. I better remember their ages, otherwise I'm getting in trouble.
right. They keep
Um,
changing.
Yeah, yeah. And then my the nerve. And then my daughter is 28, and then my son who just celebrated a birthday is 35. Yeah, I know. We started really young.
35.
We started young. We started young. But
Wow. That's
yeah,
amazing though. You're in
yeah.
the best. Don't you think this is the best season of life
I
though?
agree. And you mentioned it about this season of your life. I say that the rest of my life is the best of my life. And so now that my youngest daughter graduated, my wife and I are like, okay, so what do we want to do? We're sort of empty nesters, kind of, and so we're thinking, so we're just planning. And but like you said, which leads us to my next question here. What do you wish you would have known when you started? When you started your, I guess, your career? You How long have you been investing in real estate now?
7 years.
Okay. So what do you wish you would have known when you started?
Well, I wished I would have been taught this in college. I have a finance degree,
Wow.
and no one ever exposed me to real estate.
Okay.
And it wasn't until a girlfriend invited me to a Rich Dad event
Wow. Okay.
and said, hey, I've got a ticket. My husband can't go. Do you want to join me? I'm like, I don't even know what are you talking about, Rich Dad? And as soon as I sat down and they start talking about mailbox money, I'm
Yeah.
like, mailbox money? What's mailbox money? I want a little bit of mailbox money.
Of course.
And then it all clicked, and I'm like, wow, I missed out. I
Yeah.
just went. And so now I'm trying to teach my kids
Sure.
the lessons now so that they're free. They have more choices in life
Yeah.
because of the freedom that real estate creates and gives you.
Yeah. I agree. But I believe that you make the best decisions that you can based on the information that you have. And then
Mhm.
get more information, so now you can make different decisions. And so it's, so you can't beat yourself up. And here's one of my wife and I's favorite sayings. Well, we got a couple of them. Is that everything happens for us and not to us. So it's
Love that.
like, yeah, so it's like, hey, this is the right time. I mean, the knowledge and skill and experience you have now, maybe you can pass it on to your children with more passion, and you've experienced
Mhm,
more, and
mhm.
so I think that's great. And it's interesting. I've been seeing a lot about apartment buildings recently. I've been doing a lot more single family stuff, but I want to get more into apartments, so we'll have to talk more about that. But that's a bunch. I mean, you make more money faster, right? And what you're
For
doing is
sure.
like is more of a passive investing kind of a strategy, right?
Well, I'm usually the general partner. If I find the deal,
Okay.
I'll put the group together.
Okay.
Now, the bigger the apartment building, the more expensive it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're going to need more people on your team
Okay.
to really manage the asset, manage the property manager.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why it's better to go bigger, because if you have a bigger asset, you hire a property manager, and then your responsibility is to make sure they implement your business strategy at the
Okay.
property.
Yeah.
And your goal is to manage the money and manage what they're doing at the property.
Nice.
And
Okay.
and so, yeah, you get to really um, take your income, and you can double it and triple it in some cases in
Yeah.
as early as 3 to 5 years.
That's incredible. So can you?
That's
I'm
the
sorry. Go ahead.
difference.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I love that, and I'm wondering if you could just walk me through maybe a deal. So let's say we find a 70. I call you, say, hey, I found a building apartment. It's 70 doors. Boom. So how do we put this thing
Boom.
together?
So in most cases, guaranteed, take the market out of it, take out all the fluctuations in the economy.
Yeah.
Anytime a property is sold to another person, you can already guarantee that they're going to raise the rent at a
Okay.
minimum of $25. But let's just say, you know what? We're in some really unusual times.
Okay.
And we could, instead of bumping it $25, we could push the limit and say, I'm going to push it $50.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So now you have 70 doors,
Yep.
right? 70 times $50 per unit.
Yeah.
So in 1 month, you increase your net income $3,500, or your gross income, right?
Oh.
It's gross.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, now take that times 12. So we increased our gross income $42,000.
Just like that.
Now, here's the other important thing is
Okay.
because it's on a cap rate. Cap rate tells you, it kind of puts you on a level with other apartment buildings, and it tells you, hey, this area, it's really exploding, or it may say this area is declining.
Okay.
So your cap rate tells you really how much you can charge for your building. So in this case, we just added 42,000 in 1 year
Yeah.
to this asset. So let's just take the going average cap rate right now, which is about 4%.
Okay.
Let's divide this by 4%. We just increased the value of this asset by $1,050,000,
Wow. Just by increasing the rents.
by $50 per unit.
Wow. That's crazy.
And right now, across America, the average rent is being bumped 20% because of the demand and lack of supply.
That is a huge number.
It is a huge number. And more people can't afford single family homes. So they're being forced to stay in rental properties or
Okay.
apartment buildings longer. So
Okay.
that's more demand. And it's just the nature of the cycle that we're in. So
Yeah.
it's making a lot of people very wealthy right now. It's a
Sure.
good time to be in multifamily.
That makes sense. So, all right. So we raised our rents. And how do we finance the deal? What kind of down payment? And I mean, tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about, yeah.
Yeah. So traditionally, if you buy a large enough asset in an area where there's a good amount of diversified employers, and it's
Okay.
not really a one horse town like a military town.
Okay.
If you go into an area where there's lots of big corporations, in that case, you might be able to get non-recourse debt,
Okay.
meaning you don't have to sign your assets over to them if you default on the loan. You don't have
Wow.
to give them your car, your house, and everything. That's called recourse lending.
Okay.
Instead, you can get non-recourse lending. You can get fixed debt.
Okay.
And in the past, you've been able to get, depending on where you invest, as many as 3 years interest only, which again
Wow.
gives you cash flow
Sure.
to give
Sure.
back to your investors.
Okay.
And so non-recourse lending has really been, it's what I always look for. If anybody comes to me and said, hey, I've got this $10 million asset, it's recourse lending, will you be the sponsor on it? I'm like, no, thank you.
Gotcha.
I don't need recourse debt at my age, you know?
Sure.
I don't need that stress. So you can get non-recourse debt. It was last year that you could put down as little as 25%
Okay.
on the asset. So, take, for example, a $10 million asset, 25% down. So you're going to put a down payment of 2.5 million.
Okay.
Now, I can't come up with 2.5 million. So I'm going to raise capital.
Okay.
And that's where I go to my friends and family. I put on a webinar and I say, here's the asset. Here's the location. Here's all about the market and why we like this market. And we really dig in deep about the market because honestly, the market is more important than actually the asset
Okay.
at that point.
Sure.
So all of my assets that I am a general partner on, they're not even in my backyard.
Okay.
They're everywhere else because we really try to track where's the growth happening in the US. Where are people wanting to live right now? And, people are following where they can work and play
Okay.
and, experience life. That's where they want to live, which a lot of people are going to the smiley states, where it's sunny all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny you mentioned that because I definitely want to go to one of the smiley states. I'm in Minnesota and it's getting too cold here. So, but that's for another podcast. We'll talk about that in another one. But I love that. So what? Tell me. Well, first of all, how many deals are you a general partner on? Just curious.
So I'm now a general partner on 5 deals. We have
Wow.
622 doors.
That is great. Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
fantastic. Yeah. So,
Yeah, we're having a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, tell me about. And I know everybody has a different kind of view of failure. People say, I don't fail. I learn and all that. But what would you say was your biggest failure, and what did you learn from that?
So, you talked earlier that your wife and you said that one of your biggest things is sometimes it's all about the way you look at something,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, I hired a mentor and he said that, one of the best places to invest is in your backyard.
Okay.
So I thought, all right, this is where I'm going to hunker down. I'm going to find a deal in my backyard. Well, 2 years came and went, and
Hmm.
I hadn't found a deal here. And I just decided it's not going to work for me. I'm not going to find apartment building here in my backyard. So I'm going to go back to flipping homes, which is
Hmm.
what I did.
Okay.
But then I started listening and realizing, not everybody invests in their backyard. A lot of people go outside of their backyard. They go into places where they travel to a lot,
Yeah.
or their kids are in college and there's a nearby town that's really exploding. So that's when I decided, hey, I'm going to go outside of my backyard and invest. Took me 3 years to learn that lesson.
Hmm.
So I felt like it slowed down my growth. But again, maybe I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And maybe there was protection there that maybe I would have done a bad deal.
Yeah.
So, I look at it as, hey, the reward was I learned a lot about flipping a lot of properties that year,
Yeah. Sure.
So,
Sure.
yeah.
So what would you say? So if you were asking the questions here, you're in my shoes, asking you questions. What should I be asking that I'm not asking? I mean, what do you want people to know that I'm not asking you about here? Is there anything?
I would say, yeah. Where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years?
Okay.
Finding, like, what do you want your life to look like? Who do you want to be?
Okay.
Who do you want to be known for? And is the way you're living today going to get you there?
Okay. That's a
And
good
if
question.
it's not, okay, what do you need to do? What kind of changes do you need to make to get your trajectory of your boat pointed in the right direction. I always tell my kids, listen, you're in a boat and you're floating somewhere
Yeah.
and you're going to end up, running into the side of, the mountain or the cliff,
Yeah.
right, in the
Sure.
ocean, or you can land on that beautiful island, right? So, or you can just float aimlessly forever out in the ocean and get, tormented by the sun and, beat down by the rain. So life is what you make it.
Yeah.
But having a plan and a course of action, you're in control of your destiny, right?
Yeah.
So where do you want to be?
Right. And if you don't ask
Where
that
do you-
question, you're gonna just you'll be maybe carrying out someone else's goal, maybe helping them achieve their goal. Kind of like I said, just you end up landing, like I said, on the side of a cliff. You wonder how you got there, but you weren't very intentional about it.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I love that. So before I ask the last question, I mean, we went totally off track, and I've loved every single minute of it. So we're gonna have to do this again because I want to talk more
I would
about
love it.
apartment stuff. All right. So, how can people connect with you online if they want to reach out to you? How do they reach you?
Yeah, they can connect with me through LinkedIn. I'm
Okay.
Jennifer Barner, or they can send me an email. I'm on it every day.
Okay.
It's Jennifer at Lighthouse, as you see right behind
I
me over
like
my
it.
shoulder, Lighthouse Dash Ventures, and that's
Okay.
plural,
Yeah.
.com.
Nice. Okay. So here's my final question. Well, this is just part one. We're gonna have a bunch. Turn this into a series here.
Yeah.
So the name of this podcast is the Unstoppable REI. I named it that because if you Google the term real estate investor failure rate, you'll see that 95% of real estate investors fail. Huge number. And so I want to talk to the top 5% of investors around the country to find out what are you doing, to achieve success in such a, an industry with such a huge failure rate. So two-part question. Number one, how would you define unstoppable, that word? And then what are you doing specifically to make yourself unstoppable when it comes to failure, in this industry?
Well, I guess I look at, I had 3 years where I underwrote everything that moved in my backyard.
Okay.
And I could have let that get me down,
Yeah.
um, and really defined who I was. But at the core of it, I realized, you know, I'm just 3 feet away. You know, the book 3 Feet from Gold.
Yes.
And I know the same statistic. I've heard that 85% of people that go to these networking real estate meetings,
Yeah.
they never do a deal.
Hmm.
And I just thought the biggest step is the first one.
Yeah.
And if I can just take the first step, and I realized I just needed to get that first apartment building. If I
Yeah.
can just get the first one, I knew that more would come, more,
Sure.
more and more and more. And so for me, and I always think about my family, and what I'm trying to leave behind when I leave.
Yeah.
And I think my dad was such a huge role model in my life, and he left behind a really large legacy and boots to fill. And I want to continue his legacy. And so it's really important to me to educate my children in an
Yeah.
area that I've never had any exposure to, and make sure they continue to do the same for generations to come. So that's what gets me up out of bed every single morning.
Yeah.
I'm like everybody though. I have my tough, days that
Oh,
are
sure.
here
Sure.
than others to get out of bed.
Yeah.
But I always am leaning on, who do I want to become in life, and what do I want to be known as when I
Yeah.
leave this earth?
And that's what kind of sort of drives you to keep going, get going.
It does. It does.
I love that. Well, listen,
Yeah.
Jennifer, we're at the end of our time. I this was totally unscripted. I love just hanging out with you, and
Likewise.
yeah, and we gotta talk to your kids. We gotta get them, help you get set up, and I don't know, we'll have to figure out. Now I'm just being given a hard time, but I loved just spending time with you. And would you be open to hanging out again sometime?
Of course, I would love that more than anything. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. All
Yeah.
right, cool. Well, thanks again for your time, and you have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk again real soon. All right.
Okay. Thank you. Have a
Okay, you
blessed
bet. You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.